Yo guys, what's up? Today we're looking at Priest's Discipline versus Holy. So, as a healer, Priests are very popular in WoW Classic. They're great for single target healing, probably not as good as Paladins, but they're great for AoE and group healing. Now when you've got your gear, and you start building that gear up, you get to level T2 in BWL, and you start putting out some serious healing as Holy Spec. So now I've got all the T2 gear, I've got the best in slot mace, I've got the offhand from Satur in AQ40, and now it's time for me to think about, is my healing optimal for the healing classes I'm healing with, or do I need to do something to my spec? Now, this is looking at Holy versus Discipline and what you need to consider if you're thinking about moving from Holy to Discipline. So let's first look at the Holy tree. So Holy has a few good spells or talent points you can invest points into. Some other ones which are not great. So the first thing is Improve Renew. As a Holy Priest, you probably want to put all your points in Improve Renew, depending on how often you use Renew within a raid. You can spend all your points down the talent tree, and where it becomes critical as Discipline is around this area here, which we'll go into in a moment. But let's look at the Discipline tree. Now, the Discipline tree has a few good talent points for you to spend your points on, and these are Improved Shield, Inner Focus, and the most common one is Divine Spirit. But of course, you need to put 3 points into Meditation first before you put your point in Divine Spirit. Now, moving into the Discipline tree, if you want to spend all your points, your objective is to get Power Infusion. Now, Power Infusion is the most common Discipline talent in Classic, especially the point where we are at the moment, up to level 60. To get Power Infusion, you need to get this Mental Strength here, increases your maximum mana by 10%. And then you can get Power Infusion. Now, all these talents really are best for the Discipline tree for healing. Now, Discipline has some other talents. For example, increases your damage with wands, your focus casting effects, which stops interruption while casting, improve mana burn, improve inner fire. Now, all these additional talents which I haven't chosen are probably best if you want to do something like PvP or protect yourself in specific situations. So if you're being hit, Martyrdom will help you. Improved inner fire will help you as well if you want to burn somebody's mana. You don't necessarily need these talents when you're healing. There's also this here, Force of Will, increases your spell damage by 1%. We don't need to increase our spell damage. We're more focused on healing here. So these talent points, which I've invested here, are to help me healing. So Silent Resolve, reduce my threat. Yes, I need to reduce my threat. Improve Power Word, Fortitude. Fortitude is one of the core priest spells that a priest casts. No other class casts Fortitude or improves your stamina as much as a priest does. Not putting points in Power Word Fortitude kind of tells me that you don't really know how a priest works. You need to put points in Power Word Fortitude to increase the overall stamina of the raid. Especially on progression raids, you need to basically maximize all of your hit points as much as you can. Improve Power Word Shield. As a Discipline priest, and especially going into the future expansions, Power Word Shield becomes a core component of your healing or your mitigation with your raid against NPCs. So this is a good talent to spend. Inner Focus, this is a great talent to invest in, especially if you're casting this here Prayer of Healing. Prayer of Healing costs 1070 mana. That's a massive chunk of mana, so if you can mitigate that by getting a free cast, and it's a critical effect as well, that's an amazing talent to spend your points on. We've talked about the Divine Spirit, but Meditation allows 15% of your mana regen to continue on casting. That's especially good for fights like Patchwork in Naxxramas, where keeping up healing 100% of the time in the Patchwork fight on the tank is vital for that fight survival. So that's definitely a good 3 points that you can invest there to get the Divine Spirit. Next, we've got Mental Agility, which increases the mana cost of your reduces the mana cost of your spells, and you've got Mental Strength, which increases your maximum mana. And then finally, Power Infusion infuses the target, increasing their spell damage and healing by 20%. Last 15 seconds. It's got a cooldown of 3 minutes. They can use that every 3 minutes. That is an awesome spell. This is the Discipline talent tree. The big thing with Discipline is just having to spend 31 points to get Power Infusion, which is the best Discipline talent. Because of that, you lose out some really good healing talent points in the Holy Tree. You've only got a maximum of 20 to spend in the Holy Tree. You can only go down to this level here. So what I've had to sacrifice are these spells here. But let's look at what we've got. Okay, so we've got Renew, we've got Crit, we've got Improved Healing. It's not actually Improved Healing. It reduces the mana cost of the healing spells. And we've got Holy Nova, and we've got Holy Reach. So our AoE healing spells can have got a wider radius. I haven't got any reduction of mana in Prayer of Healing, given that a priest does a lot of AoE healing, or it can do a lot of AoE healing. This might be a concern if you're only casting AoE healing spells once in a blue moon. It probably doesn't matter that much. But these 2 talent points here are crucial to the Holy Tree. Spiritual Guidance increases spell damage and healing by 5% if you total spirit. So if you look at how much spirit I've got here, base stats, I have got 326 spirit at the moment. That is a good chunk of healing, which I'm losing out on. And there's 5 talent points. There's 5 talent points to spend in there as well. So it increments 5 every single time. So I'll get up to 25% of my total spirit. And you've got this one here, Spiritual Healing. Increases the amount healed by your healing spells by 2%. So that 5 points, and that goes up to 10%. So with 10% in Spiritual Healing, I'm losing out in 25% of Spiritual Guidance. I'm going to be losing out. That's a good chunk of healing that you're going to lose out on if you are Discipline spec. So that's something to consider if you are Disciplined. Now, to decide whether it is good moving from Holy to Discipline will come down to a few factors, but the primary factor is if you're overhealing. So if you're doing a lot of raid healing, but you're overhealing, so we just look at a fight here. So this was we did some LBRS runs here, and I can have a look at my overhealing. So I'm doing 50% of overhealing, and my top 3 spells, I'm casting Renew, Flash Heal, and Holy Nova. And Renew, because it's a heal over time spell, does do a lot of overhealing. But if you find you're doing a lot of healing with Flash Heal, you find that you're doing a lot of healing with Greater Heal or even Normal Heal, then you might need to look at moving your holy spells into Discipline. to maximize the mana efficiency of all of your spells. Sometimes it comes down to DPS when the decision is moving towards the discipline talent. In a fight such as, I don't know, let's say Princess Huron in AP14, where you've got 30% left on it, and that 30% is critical to get the maximum amount of DPS possible within that fight. This is where the discipline tree comes into its own with power infusion. So, for example, a fully spec warlock for that fight, with a shadow priest in the same group and power infusion, he's going to deal a shed load of DPS. If you want to see warlocks with 4,500 shadow bolt crits, power infusion and a shadow priest together, that's when you're going to get that DPS. Power infusion really does makes your DPS insane. Put it on a fire mage as well, especially when ignite, especially when they've got combustion. Power infusion is going to increase that whole damage by an extra 20%, and it is absolutely awesome. So 5 discipline priests in that raid, increasing DPS from 5 different casters by 20%. That's an awesome amount of DPS, and it sometimes is the make or break situation out of a raid boss. But if you aren't giving out as much healing as you would like to do, or you are still gearing up, I would suggest that you stay holy for the time being, up until the point where you can get away with only having, say, 8 healers in a raid group, and you've started with 11 in BWL, for example, and then you've moved down from 11 to 10 to 9, and you're comfortable healing in BWL with 8 healers. I think that is the time to start looking at discipline spec. But it also depends on different factors like your mana regeneration, and it also depends on how accessible other healers are to support you in a raid, whether you've got the right makeup of paladins with druids, additional healing. So there's a lot of factors that determine this decision moving over to disc. So basically, I moved over to disc because I was doing over 60% of overhealing very often in raids, and I was basically doing a lot more healing than expected, really. And my mana regeneration was ample. It was fine for what I needed. In fact, I went down from using 8 mana potions typically in a BWL raid down to not even using 1 now. And now I do get a lot of mana regeneration, or a base big mana pool. If you look at my mana now, I've got no additional intellect. I've got all my stuff enchanted, and I've got, these items are perfectly achievable, and I've got 7,344 base mana. That's with no buffs. So when I'm in a raid, I'll get about 10,000 mana, maybe even more. If I flask up, I'll probably get about 12,000 mana, which means that these bad boys here, these conjured crystal waters, it takes me at least 2 to drink if I've got no mana to get all the way to 4. So there's that to consider as well. You get a bigger mana pool. It takes you longer to drink as a discipline priest. The final thing I'm going to talk about is downranking. So downranking your spells is a common thing when healing. The only reason why you downrank is to maximize your healing and your efficiency throughout the whole of the fight. So you can cast lower rank spells to last longer in a fight, and you're still efficient from beginning to end. A healer running out of mana 75% of the way through the fight is the worst thing that can happen. So what you do is you downrank your spells to make sure you can last all the way through the fight. With downranking, obviously comes less healing, and with less healing comes less efficiency in certain scenarios. And what you do is you have to subsidize maybe sometimes some mana regeneration to get extra healing. Certain classes actually do that. With paladins, it's more crit spec. With priests, it's more MP5. With druids, it's more spell healing and MP5 as well, because they suffer from. But druids also have no mechanic to reduce threat as well, so there's that to consider as well. With a priest, healing is a core requirement. Like the plus healing talent is one of the best things you can have as a priest. But mana per 5 and spirit also has a big key role to play when healing on a priest. What I would say is that focus on trying to get your MP5 and your spirit as much as you can to last through a fight without having to take a mana potion. So if you heal, make sure your mana regeneration is at least, it ticks for at least 100. If I look at mine here, if I cast a greater heal, it goes down to 740. But after the 5 seconds, you'll see that I'm healing for over 100 per tick. And at that point, it is a good idea, if I've got that much mana regeneration, to probably look at moving to disc if my overall healing output is actually acceptable as well. So those are my considerations and thoughts for moving to discipline from holy. There might be something I haven't covered, but that's basically what I've had to go through. So any questions about moving to disc, please post a comment below. But I hope that this video has been useful to you. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll be back again soon with another video.